Dear friends, I'm Shanice J. Thank you so much for tuning into Love Her Will, the new voice of willpower. Today, I have an expert here to help us navigate the discussion on mental health challenges and solutions. I'm so honored to introduce Mrs. Lauren Jones. Hey, Lauren.
Sarah.
Lauren is a licensed clinical social worker and a director of a nonprofit, Propel Production Center. Propel Production Center specializes in art-based mental health programs. They promote social, emotional, and behavioral wellness and connection. Lauren believes that mental health education is the missing piece and expressive arts is the glue in what the African American community needs for individuals to be truly well, successful, and to thrive. That's my favorite word, thrive. So she also believes that there is no health without mental health. Thank you so much, Lauren, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. And those glasses are just so cute. I'm
Thank
obsessed.
you. Because I know you come with the glasses, girl. I love
Girl.
yours. Those are beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Every one of us is worthy. Every one of us is worthy. Every one of us is worthy.
And I love that wall back there. I love that. Is that
Thank
like a vision wall or what does that say?
Well, it says the remix up at the top, which is what the name of our teletherapy practice is, but it's also the name of our smash room that we started. And then the art pictures are either things that I've done or the one at the top a street performer has done. So just really artsy. I wanted to incorporate art
Yes,
within my
love it. I
so,
love it. It's beautiful. Yes, and we'll get into what all you offer at Propel Production Center. I've definitely been on your website. You guys, they are doing amazing things in the community. So we'll talk about that soon. So what encouraged you to get into this profession? Have you yourself battled with mental health?
so honestly, I think I would have to credit my parents for getting me into the profession because they were therapeutic foster parents when I was growing up and when my brother was growing up. So we grew up with foster siblings. And by
Okay.
being exposed to child welfare from that angle, I was able to see what social workers do, what
Yeah.
it feels like to be not integrated with the system, but kind
Mm.
of a part of the system to a certain extent. And I also went to a Christian high school, and that high school allowed me to go on missions trips. So I got to go to Cape Town, South Africa, I got to go to Mexico. So I kind of got exposure of helping, but
Mhm.
at the same time, I also got exposed to kind of barriers and limits to
Okay.
being able to help. So although I was in positions to create change, I didn't have any tools or resources to do any type of long-term impactful change, which made me pursue social work in college.
Okay.
So college, Winston-Salem State
Yes.
University.
Whoop
Where
whoop. Chew tobacco, chew tobacco. If you don't know it, then too bad.
So I have to credit my childhood. I had to credit my parents for being amazing foster parents and letting me get that exposure early on.
Mhm.
And you asked a second question about have I experienced mental health? Heck yeah. Honestly, I think that we all have experienced mental health, just like we all experience physical health. You know, it's on a spectrum.
Right.
So, speaking physically, there's optimum physical health, but then there is a spectrum of physical illness. Then
Yes.
mental health. So, there's optimum mental health, but then there's a spectrum that can lead to mental illness. But
Yes.
basic stuff like stress or sadness or nervousness, I've been impacted by all of those things. And during 2020, I probably experienced symptoms of depression, symptoms of PTSD because I was pregnant, my very first time being pregnant, and I
Yeah.
also had a miscarriage in
Mm.
2020. So that rocked my world
Wow. Yes.
where I had to begin therapy for myself. So yes, even therapists need therapists, need
Right.
mental support. So yes, I've experienced mental health. I've experienced symptoms, but we all experience symptoms of mental health challenges and obstacles.
Yeah. That is, I never heard it explained that way. And that makes more sense because when we think about mental health, at least for me, I think automatically depression, suicidal thoughts. I always think to the extreme, but I never
Yeah.
thought about it on a smaller scale of, well, sadness, and then also grieving, and or being upset, or just kind of showing any kind of emotional change is mental health. So I never seen it, never thought about it on that type of scale. And you have my condolences on losing your child. I'm sorry. I can't even imagine. My sister experienced the same thing. So you have my condolences on that. And like you said, therapy is important. And so I think one thing is recognizing that you need it is vital. Like I need to know that I need it.
Definitely, definitely. So anytime that we experience any type of stress, any type of anxiousness, any type of sadness or frustration, and it gets to a point where it impacts our daily functioning or it impacts our relationships, it
Yeah.
impacts work, we
Yes.
need to be incorporating some type of treatment to help regulate us, help support us, um, return to normal. And treatment can look like whatever treatment looks like for you. But I know that you're going to ask, we're going to get into that a
Yeah.
little bit. But
Okay.
yes, everybody has mental health, and we
Yeah.
all experience a fluctuation of our mental health.
Right. I love that. Do you believe that, I know you said that we all do different things for our mental health. Do you believe that people have to be medicated in order to overcome it? And I guess now thinking of it on a smaller scale, like I never thought about, I don't need to be medicated just because I'm frustrated. But for someone who deals with depression, or grieves from a traumatic event, do you think medication is needed or necessary?
So I think that there's a time and a place for a lot of different levels of treatment.
Mhm.
So, and I always try to give physical examples to help explain my mental health example. So, say for example, on the physical health side, you have a cough,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And you have this cough, and you have several options to deal with this cough. One, you could take medication to
Right.
treat the cough, to reduce that symptom, or you can do something else like drink tea
Right.
to eliminate the cough, or you can do something like, you know what, I'm just gonna let it right out. It's just a cough. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
So,
That's
and
an
that,
awesome way to describe that, because even with the mental health, my personally, I've been like, oh, I'm just going to let it ride out. I'll be better tomorrow.
mhm.
Oh.
Yeah, and it really, and honestly, there's so many different factors that it just depends.
Hmm.
But when we do talk about medication as an option, it's addressing a specific symptom. So there are medications for cough.
Hmm.
So although we are using medication in this example, we also need to look at underlying issues to see what caused this cough. Why are we coughing now? What's going on? Is it something within our environment? Is it dusty?
Yeah.
Something within your
Right.
system? Like, are you
Yeah.
getting sick? Is this the flu? Is this COVID? We don't know. And same with mental health. So if you're experiencing sadness and
Mhm.
it's impacting daily functioning, you do have options. One, yes, you can go to a doctor, a mental health professional, or a doctor that can prescribe medication for you for your sadness to address that symptom.
Right.
Or you can decide, you know what, let me do something else. Let me engage in wellness activities like exercise or swimming, or
Right.
let me talk it out. Let me go talk to a professional. Let me talk to my support system. Or you can say, you know what, I'm sad. I'm just going to go to sleep. And
Right.
it's okay. So
Yeah.
there's so many different things. Now, I will say that there are certain diagnoses that do require some treatment in addition to other things, like you might need to go to therapy, plus
Okay.
have medication management to support. We don't ever want to just make people choose one thing
Right.
with mental health. We want to give a bunch of people a lot of different tools and strategies to support them. So medication is one.
Right.
You know, and it's preference, it's preferential. It depends on what's going on. It depends on, are we dealing with specific symptoms that want to be minimized?
Right.
It depends.
Yeah. And
Medication
also,
is a proven thing within
right.
therapy and physical health.
Yeah, that's true. And it also depends on, like you said, the severity of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think a little bit of sadness is normal for someone to experience, with something's going on. Like you said, why are you feeling sad? Are you just sad just because? So you have to get to the root of the problem. Why are you feeling this way? I know I journal sometimes to help me to discover, why am I feeling this way? Why all of a sudden did I wake up and not want to do anything today? When I
Yeah.
was battling breast cancer, I experienced depression, suicidal thoughts, and even a little PTSD, a fear of just it coming back. Like one time I was taking a shower, washing my hair, and I had natural shedding from my hair. You know how you wash hair, you got the little dead ends that come out. And I just panic and bust out crying because I just flashed back to the moment of when my mom was combing my hair and like my hair was coming out in clumps from the chemotherapy. And so I just had like a moment where I was just like, and I never talked to anyone about it. I never went to therapy or anything like that. So in your opinion, do you find that people who experience traumatic events are more likely to develop, I guess, the more severe mental health issues?
That's tough.
Yeah.
I hate for my short answer to be it depends. And I really wanted to talk about this question, so I jotted down some things.
Yeah.
But just to start off, trauma, when I'm talking about trauma, we're talking about any type of experience that causes some type of psychological duress that exceeds your ability to cope. Because I just want to be clear that a lot of us experience traumatic events.
Yeah.
And a lot of us experience triggers.
Yes.
Sometimes we do have the resiliency and the fortitude and the skills to be like, okay, it's rocking my world.
Yeah.
But I'm okay. I'm able to move on. But then there are some traumatic events that are just, this is exceeding like my capacity. I was not ready for this. It's rocking my world and I cannot function at this moment. And resiliency is a factor, but if that traumatic event is chronic versus a one and done instance,
Okay.
and if the traumatic event is extremely severe, and that varies for different people. For example, medical diagnosis, which you talked about, I experienced that this year with my miscarriage. Also, natural disasters can be a traumatic event, like a fire, like if your house burnt down, a flooding and it destroyed everything that you once knew. But like the death of a loved one or the death of a relationship or the ending of something can be extremely traumatic.
Right.
Social injustice, being Black in America
That's
is
stressful. Right.
if we're being honest.
Yeah.
So the more often we're exposed to traumatic instances, if this traumatic instance is chronic, we are at a higher risk to experience mental health impact. So you mentioned breast cancer. That's not a one day thing. That's a long-term experience. So rightfully so, for you being exposed to chronic trauma, it's gonna rock you.
Yeah.
Or instances like if someone was homeless or if someone was assaulted physically,
Right.
it's not one and done instances.
Right.
But even like if you're a student and you fail a class, that's pretty traumatic. So there's a lot of different levels to trauma, but it makes you're more prone, like your risk factor, and the same with physical health. So if you are overweight, that is a risk factor for a lot of long-term things like diabetes or high cholesterol or other instances. So being exposed with trauma, that does put you at risk. That doesn't mean you're automatically, but the risk is higher.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that makes even more sense. And I think the more you are exposed to also can kind of increase your ability to handle more things.
Mhm.
If and only if you're processing everything. I'll say that, because sometimes we can be overloaded with so much to where we'll just have a mental breakdown.
Mhm.
This happened, like 2020, we're dealing with isolation. And then we deal with, like, my breast cancer came back this year in 2020, last year, I mean, in 2020, you lost a child in 2020. It's just more one thing after the other. But if we're not processing what we're going through, and then that can just, add up, and then all of a sudden we're breaking down. We're like, what happened? Someone just said, hey, how you doing? All of a sudden we start crying because we've overloaded ourselves with so much without actually processing and trying to handle it. So,
And the flip side of that is, if you are constantly exposed to trauma, there are instances where you just kind of go into survival mode and become desensitized.
yes.
So I'm thinking about, if you live in a low income neighborhood and there's a lot of poverty or there's a lot of gun violence,
Mm-hmm.
the likelihood of a gun going off outside, you're probably not going to jump up and
Right.
take cover and be like, oh my gosh, we got to get out of here. It's probably just a typical day,
Yeah.
versus someone who has not been exposed to that trauma day in and day out. If they hear guns, they're like, oh my gosh, oh
Right.
my
Like, everybody
gosh.
get under the couch. Right. Yeah, because if I hear a gunshot, I'm gonna be like, what, hiding and
Me too.
calling 911. So, but yeah, some people might be used to that. You said what?
No, I said same here.
Yeah.
That's not an environment that I'm used to. That would be,
Right.
it's traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are desensitized to it versus some of us wouldn't be. Same
Right.
trauma, different experience.
Yes. Wow. Well, according to the American Psychiatric Association, depression in Blacks and Hispanics is likely to be more long-lasting. Do you believe that people of color have less resources to overcome their mental health issues?
I think the African American and the Latinx community have less resources, period.
Mm-hmm.
Not, I mean, mental health, yes, food deserts, yes, access to traditional physical health
Yes.
stuff, access to opportunities, just systemically, I think that people of color are at a disadvantage,
Yeah.
and it does impact seeking mental health treatment. But in addition to that, culturally speaking, I don't think African American or Latinx communities are very supportive of seeking mental health.
Yeah.
I think that those communities, our communities, are very religious also,
Mm-hmm.
and we're big on, taking it to the Lord in prayer, pray,
Right.
pray about it, let that spirit release you.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Exactly.
you're tough, you're strong, you're
Mhm.
independent, you can handle it. Like, shake it off, don't cry. There,
Especially women of color, we're taught to do that. Shake it off. Don't cry. Just deal with it. Keep rolling, like you said. Just go ahead and chuck it and keep going.
yeah, so not only are we denied equal access to the systems, but even if there were systemic equality or equity, we would also have to overcome like cultural stigma and religious stigma in order to run towards treatment. I think that's kind of why I started my business, because a lot of people weren't showing up to mental health clinics that looked like you and me.
Yes.
So trying a different approach to mental health was really important. And then constantly talking
Right.
about that this is a problem. And
Right.
the Lord has blessed us with professionals to
Right.
handle the things.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what we have to know, that, as far as the religion aspect, that God places people in our lives to help us. He places resources there to help us. And that's what we need to recognize. It's not, yes, we're supposed to have faith and overcome troubles and trials and give it up to the Lord, but we still are supposed to be wise enough to seek help when we need it. So,
Yeah.
but like you said, the community has that stigma of that going to seek help or going to a therapist is you're crazy, or, why are you doing that? Or you must be crazy or loony, or you trying to get a disability check and say that you're crazy. So we definitely have that stigma in our community.
It's really important to understand. Well, one, we don't have mental education,
Mm-hmm.
and it's important to understand that mental health involves everything you think, everything you feel, everything you do. So there's no choices that you make, there's no actions or decisions that you do, there's no relationships that you have that are not impacted by mental health. So
Right.
really understanding that mental health is at your core of functioning.
Mm.
Hopefully that'll begin shifting some minds towards, you know what, let me go get my mental health physical.
Right.
Like let me do my eye exam, let me do my physical exam, let me do my therapy check-in.
Yeah,
Just
I like that. Yeah, mental health, physical. We definitely, everyone can do that and use that. Yeah. Wow. I never thought about it that way. Yeah. So we've already talked about what's inspired you to study mental health. So what kind of things do you do at Propel Production Center that are different from, your average mental health facility?
so traditionally with mental health facilities, they're focused on talk therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So you come in, you see a mental health professional, you talk about what's going on, they give you a diagnosis,
Yeah.
and you guys set some treatment goals and you work on that. With Propel, we're a little bit different. We're workshop and classroom, well, not classroom, but classes and workshop based. And
Mm-hmm.
we focus on arts to
Okay.
talk about the mental health. Again, earlier I said that a lot of communities of color aren't super duper interested in running towards mental health treatment. So instead, we offer classes like culinary classes or dance
Okay.
classes, or we might work on social media stuff,
Mm-hmm.
um, painting, gardening. And while we're doing those things, we're going to be talking about anxiety, we're going to be talking about anger, we're going to be talking about stress. And we want to provide a very warm, very welcoming environment, help people become a little bit more vulnerable because they're focused on the task or they're focused on the activity or they're learning something new.
Right.
And by doing that, their guard is a little bit down and they're a little bit more open to engaging in difficult conversations and topics. Now, we also do have talk therapy. If someone wants to come out of class and say, you know what, I really want a deeper understanding on this, or I'm really grasping and struggling with that, we do have teletherapy available for them.
Oh, that's good.
And there's some people that don't want that, and we have the Smash Room available too.
I know I want to try that so bad. Let us know, where are you located right now?
So right now we're in Temple Hills, Maryland, so
Okay.
not far away from DC. We're in Prince George's County, Maryland, but we also provide mobile Smash Room opportunities as
That's
well. So
awesome.
we'll come to you if we can get to you.
Yeah.
The people get to come in, they put on protective equipment. We have appliances, we have electronics, we have glassware available. So when they put on their protective equipment and they choose their weapon, their mechanism, they get to go in the room, we crank up the music, whatever they want to listen to, and they go in and they destroy stuff.
I
And I
love
think
that.
it provides a very full body
Mm-hmm.
cathartic release.
Right.
Like there's been some people who yell in there. There's been some people that cry in there. Our body holds on to so much tension. So we just want to give them a space and opportunity to vent and to dump and explore and express in a healthy and safe way.
Yeah.
And the arts do that too. But
Right.
the room is just a little bit more physical for those of us who want that.
Right. I would love to try that. Yeah, too bad I'm a little far from you, but I would love to try that. I might have to just do that in my kitchen. Just grab something that's old and just go at it with the hammer and just to release all that stress and
Mhm.
everything, especially physical stress that people endure when they're going through health issues. Your body might be stressed from, medicines or just going back and forth to the doctor. I
Yeah.
know I've gotten a color book, so I know arts does help with mental health. I got an adult color book and I color sometimes. You know, yeah, it's just nice to like just do something that doesn't require me to think, you know, just I don't need to be stressed out about what color I'm about to use. You know, I just go ahead and color and, you know, read or, you know, or whatever I need to do just to kind of de-stress. So, all right. So Lauren, for someone who doesn't live in Maryland, what's something that we can purchase from your website or do to help me with my mental health?
So that's a great question. Thank you for asking. Right now, in conjunction with our Smash Room, we've developed Rage in a Box toolkits.
Ooh,
I know. So
that,
there's these kits that you get, and we have a bunch of different mind body activities that you can do at home or at school or at the workplace. One of the items, well, from our winter box, because we have a spring box rolling out, but one item from our winter box was aromatherapy Play-Doh. So you can take it
oh,
out, open up. It smells kind of woodsy. It's good for grounding technique. So if you're on those Zoom calls and you've just had it up to here,
right,
you take aromatherapy Play-Doh out and just
right.
play with it,
Just be
smell
like,
it.
yeah.
We also have these Wreck-It journals, and they're
Okay.
not regular journals with lined paper. They are journals that have different prompts like poke your pencil and create holes here, or jump on this journal, or
Right.
color violently on this journal.
Oh, I love that.
I like it. The high school students that we had do it, they liked it too. We
Okay.
also have a desktop punching bag in
Oh,
the assembly is all in it. So you can pump it up and screw it on and stick it on something. And at the end of the day or during a meeting, you know,
yeah.
just have it off to the side.
This is so awesome.
So we just wanted to create some type of kits to introduce mental health in just a fun and a vibrant and unique way. Mental health doesn't have to look like traditional talk therapy. Mental health can look like hitting a punching bag or playing
Right.
with a Play-Doh or eating our lavender peppermint aromatherapy chocolate.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna have to order some.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys offer so much. So do not let her location. I know most of you, if you're listening to this, if you don't live in Maryland. Oh, this is amazing. Desktop punching bag. Are you kidding me? I need that in my life. And the Play-Doh, the Rage Play-Doh, and a new journal. There's so many journals out there, but this journal is nothing like your regular journal. So make sure you get a journal.
Yeah, I have my punching bag not too far away. You never know.
I love that. So no
And
more blessing people out with words. Use your punching bag, use your Play-Doh. I
mhm.
love that. I love that. So suicide, we're going to talk about something a little rough here that's prominent. Suicide is in the top 10 causes of deaths in the United States. What are some tactics that you can share to help someone through depression and overcome suicidal thoughts?
Yeah, that is a very heavy question, but you're right. Suicide is very much here. And after 2020,
Ooh,
there's been an increase in stress, an increase in depression, an increase in anxiety.
yes,
So I'm sure when the numbers get back, unfortunately, there'll be an increase in suicide or at least suicidal ideation.
right.
So, what I will say is if someone is experiencing that, to let them know that it is okay to seek help. And
Mhm.
there are a lot of crisis lines, national or local
Yeah,
crisis lines available for you in that moment. So I'm talking like if you're at a 10 out of 10 and you already have a plan, you
mhm,
already have the means, please reach out to somebody within that. And you can call the hotlines or you can text. There are some text hotlines too.
yes.
We also have warm lines. So if you're not at that 10, but you still have thoughts, there's some warm lines that you can reach out to as well.
Oh,
And again, there's some that you can call and there's some that you can text to
oh,
just let
wow.
you know that you're experiencing some suicidal thoughts.
Mhm.
So, with my experience with that, if I am working with a client and we're in the same room together and there's some suicidal ideation, some suicidal thoughts,
Mhm.
and if they left my office, they had the means at their home to execute whatever type of plan,
Yeah.
I would try to see if they would be open or interested in going to a hospital voluntarily to stay and to talk
Right.
to someone to talk through it. If you're not with me or if you're not with the mental health professional and it's just you and you're at home or you're alone, you're by yourself, wherever you are, please reach out to someone
Yeah.
and let them know what's going on. It's quite all right because with the world that we're living in right now,
Mm-hmm.
stress is imminent,
Right.
anxiety is high. There's a lot going on that's outside of our control. Finances are at an all-time low. You know,
Yes.
stress is brand new. Jobs are requiring so much out of us.
Right.
So for you to get to that point, it's okay that you're there. I don't want anyone to feel any type of shame, any type of
Right.
guilt, any type of scrutiny.
Mm-hmm.
I want to encourage them to be brave and to be vulnerable and to reach out to someone and say, I'm having some thoughts about suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And to be very frank, just be very candid, be very open, be very honest, because I guarantee you there's someone that is interested in someone that wants to hear what you have to say, someone that wants to take on the weight that you are experiencing, someone who wants you to vent to them.
Yes. That's
So that's kind of where I'm
yeah.
at with
Oop. Made the mic fall on that one.
that. Felt it.
Right. Drop the mic. Oh, yes. It's a heavy question, like you said. But the main thing is to seek help and like you said, do not be ashamed of your feelings. If you're feeling depressed about something that happened or took place in your life, reach out to someone and just talk it through. Talking things through is something so simple, but it's big. It can really help you. Um, and my last question was about that scenario, just living in 2020. You're dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. Income is low, and people are losing, their homes as far as their parents. So if someone comes to you and they have, grief of losing a loved one, what are your steps to help that person overcome that? Well, I know they can't have total complete, release of grieving someone all in one day. But what is your approach just in the beginning of of helping someone who's lost a loved one, especially a parent?
So I will say probably, like you said, there is no quick fix to grief.
Right.
I do want to create a safe space for them to begin feeling,
Mm.
like legitimately feel the feels.
Yes.
I know that when we're experiencing grief, and I experienced this last year during my miscarriage, so it's not the death of a husband or a parent, but it's still the death of something. So
Yes.
there was a grief cycle to kind of give yourself permission to be sad, to be angry, to be upset, to be disappointed without trying to rush through that. It's really important that we, in order to address the wound and to heal the wound, we have to see it, we have to clean it, we have to treat it before it can scar. And that's a process. So I would definitely try to allow that individual to cry. Like I would legit assign homework.
Yeah.
Do not suck up the tears.
Right.
Do not try to change the subject.
Yeah.
But in moments like that, cry, or in moments like that, yell, or in moments like that, genuinely show up as your authentic self. Be vulnerable
Yeah.
because that person that has passed was loved,
Right.
and out of respect for them and the relationship that you have, it's important to feel the fullness of these emotions and experiences. So,
Yeah.
crying, yelling, being upset, being angry are definitely the first things I want to focus on. And I
Okay.
think it's really important because we're in a society where we're supposed to be strong and we're
Mhm.
supposed to move and operate as if nothing's wrong.
Right.
That's so anti-mental health. We have to be
Yes.
honest. We have to be vulnerable. We have to be raw. We
Yeah.
have to be authentic.
Yeah.
So in order to move towards healing, the first step is to feel.
Yeah.
So that would probably be my homework for a little while with that individual that's experiencing any type of grief.
Yeah. Wow, that's good. It's feeling all the feels. And I think that's one thing I had to do with my breast cancer. This is my second time around, but the first time I didn't really feel the feels. I was just kind of going through the motions and just
Mhm.
like it's a normal day. If I'm feeling down, I just stayed in the bed. I didn't cry. I just slept. I just kind of slept my problems away, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And then this time around, I've definitely cried and felt all the feels and all the frustration. And like I said, and now, I might color or do some kind of art. But one thing I do need to do is talk to a professional. Like you said, it's good to talk things out. So someone that's watching this right now who's dealing with any kind of mental health um, occurrence, what can they do as far as after they felt all the feels? What is something I can do when I wake up the next morning? Like, how do I get on with my day?
Yeah. So I will say that the feel the feels will be an ongoing thing. So even if you wake up the next day and you still feeling those feels, then that's quite all right. There's really
Okay.
no right or wrong way or a
Okay.
very straight path to reach healing.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say to focus on practicing self-awareness. That'll probably be the next
Okay.
thing. So just kind of acknowledging, like, you know what, I'm not okay. You
Mm-hmm.
know what, this thing really impacted me.
Yeah.
This thing is making me feel really uncomfortable. Like I'm not able to regulate my
Mm-hmm.
emotions. I'm not able to just shrug it off like it's no big deal, because it is a big deal. So if you notice those things within yourself and you notice that the feelings are disrupting and impacting you at a day-to-day basis, definitely reaching out either to your primary care provider and letting them know that you would like a mental health referral,
Yeah.
or visiting a couple of websites. And there's 3 websites that I personally recommend that you go to.
Okay. I'm right.
One,
Pen and paper.
oh yeah, get your pen and paper.
Yes, ma'am.
One is Therapy for Black Men. So, I mean, I would say any man of color, if you're interested in therapy or therapeutic services that are just for you,
Mm-hmm.
Therapy for Black Men. The next one is Melanin and Mental Health. So, Melanin and Mental Health is kind of like a directory. So, you're able to enter, they have a couple different filters. So, you're able to enter one, where you are,
Okay.
also your gender preference. If you want to speak to somebody who has the same religious beliefs as you or not, then that's fine. And if there's a specific topic that you want to focus on, like if
Mhm.
there is breast cancer or miscarriage or depression or
Right.
suicide or whatever, those are things.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then the last one is Therapy for Black Girls, which is similar for Therapy for Black Men, but Therapy for Black Girls. Just because I'm a big advocate for culturally competent therapists,
Yes.
so it's important, no
Right.
shade to white therapists. They have
Right.
the same degrees as us. But like I said earlier, how social injustice and there's the
Mhm.
Black experience that can impact trauma and mental health. You
Right.
just want somebody that has the cultural competency that gets it. And you don't have to
Exactly.
spend your therapy session explaining what
Right.
it means to be a Black woman and how the Blackness
Right.
impacts you. You know,
Exactly. Or what it means to live in to grow up without a father in a home, a single
mhm.
mom, who or grow up in poverty, or
Yeah.
in the projects. I don't want to sit here and explain to you what the projects is, but
Hello. Hello.
right. So yeah, I get that.
So I guarantee you, if you don't want to go the primary care route, and you just want to go online and look to find somebody to go on those websites, and you schedule a consultation.
Mhm.
The consultation should be free. Um, and you can see which therapists are cash pay versus which therapists are insurance based. But you schedule that consultation with them and you ask them a couple of questions. You get the vibe, you get the energy, you see, like, can I open up to them? Is this going to be a good working relationship?
Mhm.
And if it is, then cool, book your next appointment and do your assessment. But if not, that's okay. Schedule another consultation with
Right.
someone else.
Right.
You know, so it definitely needs to be a match. But I will say that it's so, I encourage everyone, every single listener right now, if you have not had a mental health assessment this year, you haven't done a mental health assessment in God knows how long or if ever, please
Right.
schedule a mental health assessment. Just
Yes.
talk to someone, just like you do your physical, just like you do your eye exam, your ear, nose, and throat.
Mhm.
Go to a mental health professional and talk about what's going on.
Okay. So when you say mental health assessment, that's just going to a professional and just basically just talking about everything that's been bothering you. Okay.
Yeah, either your first or second session with your mental health professional should be a biopsychosocial assessment. And that is essentially you
Mhm.
telling them everything that's going on with you. It'll probably take about an hour, but it's just an opportunity for you to vent and let them know what's going on, what's been stressful for you, what are
Yeah.
some areas or concerns you want to work on or you want to learn. We all have New Year's resolutions.
Right.
So what are some goals you're interested on? What are your barriers? And by working with the mental health professional, they'll help you see patterns within yourself,
Mhm.
see some behavioral changes that might need to be addressed,
Right.
talk about how old stuff shows up in the present. If you don't deal with it, your mind will be blown
Yes.
within the mental health sessions. So yeah.
I need to do that. I did a mental health assessment back in June, but because I wasn't she was great, but she wasn't a match. I didn't see myself in her, if you know what I mean. We just have a different background. So it just, I couldn't really, I don't know. I vented, but I didn't really feel no connection with her. I don't know. I just didn't feel like she would understand me, if that makes sense. So I didn't go back. So I'm in the process of looking for someone else that matches me. So I'm definitely going to go to one of those websites that you gave and find someone that I'm a match with, and so I can do these mental health assessments more often.
And good for you for like being that self-aware and acknowledging, like, you know what, it's not a good match. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we stay with either doctors, like on the physical space or in the mental health space, and we don't really fully trust them or don't feel like we can be completely vulnerable or honest
Right.
with them. So good for you. I'm really, that's a big
Thank
deal
you.
to be able to be like, nah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that causes a little bit of stress, because here you are, you're going to your session, you're like, I'm not really feeling it. And I mean, are you really releasing if you're not feeling that connection with the counselor? If you're not a match with them, you're not really fully releasing. So
No.
if anything, you're just causing more problems for yourself, because you have that little anxiety about they're not going to understand me, you know. So
Girl, you're so right. Everything that you just said, yes.
yeah. Yeah. Well, this
And
was so helpful. Huh?
oh no, I was saying that's
Yeah.
not a not just a you thing. That's happened to me too. On
Oh,
both
really? Oh,
as a goer to therapy, but also as a giver, like in as a clinician, sometimes it's just not a good match.
yeah.
So you're not alone with that. So if you're listening and you go onto the websites and it's not a good match with you, that's okay. You're
Right.
not with everybody. Think of it as like a puzzle piece. The puzzle piece doesn't fit in every single slot. You just gonna have
Right.
to move it
I
to
love
some.
that. That makes sense. I love that. This has been so eye-opening. I've learned that mental health is not just depression. It's on a scale of from small to sadness to being upset about something, all the way up to, I don't know, bipolar. It's a scale of things. It's not just isolated to being just depression, and that's mental health, the end, or suicidal, that's mental health, the end. So I've definitely learned that. And then mental health, we have to treat it as like our physical health. You know, we have to get our checkups. We have to see what's going on up there. And then also I've learned that, you know, mental health, yes, we can talk things out. That's very important, but there's also other things that we can do, such as your smash room. Go ahead and yell and scream, let it out, feel all the feels, like you said, or we can do some artwork. So I've learned so much from this, and I appreciate you, Lauren, just coming on here and educating all of us on mental health. It's very important. And I have to say again that this community, our community, there's a stigma on mental health that, you know, you're weird or you're crazy if you seek out help. And that's not the case.
Right.
Seek and talk to someone. We gave 3 websites: Therapy for Black Men, Melanin and Mental Health, and then Therapy for Black Girls. So go to one of those sites and get started on your mental health assessment. You know, is there anything else you want to add to the conversation or share with our viewers?
Just thank you for having this conversation. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. And I'm always available to talk to you more if we ever did get into some cultural stuff or any
Yes.
other thing under the sun. So thank you for using your platform to talk about mental health.
Yes, yes, of course. It's important. And you know, I'm not here just to talk about breast cancer. I'm here to just talk about, you know, what women of color are dealing with on a daily basis. And we just have that stigma on a strong Black woman. You know, you got to be her. You got to do it. You don't have time to sit and think about all the feelings that you're feeling. But that's not the case. We have to stop and slow down and think about us. And that's what this platform is all about, is being heard and thinking about ourselves and healing. So thank you so much for being here. And like Lauren says, there's no health without mental health. Be encouraged. Love, farewell. Bye-bye.